everybody. I hope everybody had a great week. Doing much better over here since we had COVID last week and decided to do a video of just how to something very basic, which is pan searing chicken breasts. So to start off, I got like a 6, 7 pack of the chicken breasts. I think I got it from Publix this time. Walmart kept being out everywhere. So I had to go to Publix, which is a little bit higher, but it was still cheaper than Piggly Wiggly. And I'm only doing 2 to 3 chicken breasts in the pan. On this video, I'm doing 2. Usually I do about 3, but you don't want to overcrowd the pan. So the rest of the chicken breasts, you see, I'm just wrapping those up to go into the freezer. I do not wash them if I'm going to be freezing them because I just end up having to wash them again after thawing them out because chicken can get a slime on it, which is why you'll also see me using lemon juice and cold water in this video to kind of flush the chicken breasts and make sure there's no funkiness, or because it can happen. You can buy them fresh from the store and they can have that juice, that slime around them. You want to wash it with lemon juice. Please, please do not use any kind of chemicals like dish soap or bleach. Uh, Chicken is porous and that can get into your meat and you can't rinse it off, so you would be feeding those chemicals to your family. You'll also see me going ahead and trimming the chicken breast here. It had a little bit of fat, pieces of chunks of fat on the edges of them. I mean, you can leave them on for flavor. The biggest thing you want to look for is the fan bones. You want to look for the hard pieces around the edges where the 2 chicken breasts originally connected. You also want to look for like the rib meat that'll have some tendons in it that can be pretty chewy, and you don't want that when you're doing something like a salad because nobody wants to sit there and have to spit out chewy pieces of meat that you can't really chew up. I usually end up flushing them about 2 to 3 times. The first time with water and lemon juice. I rub them down real good to make sure the whole breast gets covered. Then I go and rinse them about 2 more times with just water. And then I dump all that out, try to get as much water out the bag as I can because I'm going to leave it in the Ziploc bag to actually marinate. The first seasoning I threw in here was a Tuscan seasoning. I have different sets of seasonings that I'll usually do with them depending on what I want. This one I wanted more of like an Italian kind of seasoning. So I ended up doing the Tuscan seasoning, onion powder, garlic powder, more lemon juice because lemon juice will not only cleanse the chicken breast and give it a better taste, kind of get rid of the funk, but it will also tenderize the meat. So the longer you let it sit in the lemon juice, the softer the chicken will be. You can overdo it though, and it'll end up with like kind of a powdery texture if you allow it to sit too long in the lemon juice. This is not the same as overcooking. There's a big difference between overcooking it. It'll be juicy, but the texture won't be quite right if you let it sit too long. But we've also got garlic powder. I think that was celery salt, probably some cayenne pepper. I probably put cayenne pepper in everything. Or it may not be celery salt, it may be rosemary, salt, pepper, and sometimes I'll put some poultry seasoning in it. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in and what I want. If I'm doing something more of like an alfredo or a jambalaya that I want chicken in, or something more spicy, I usually go with like some Tony's, some Creole seasoning, or Old Bay. If it's my chicken strips that I do, those I do Old Bay in. Seasoned salt sometimes. It just really depends on what I'm doing to what kind of seasonings I usually put in. Usually, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper are going to always be in just about everything. After you get the seasonings in, I do this. I've had people say, oh, you can use like a soup can, you're going to tear up your hands. I don't use like my hand. I like use the palm of my hand. It's the hardest part of your hand, and um, it actually that doesn't even hurt for me, like pounding it out like that. But I've tried using soup cans and actually smashed in the side of the soup can. So I don't use like a soup can. I could probably use like a rolling pin, but I don't feel like digging it out. I rarely use my rolling pins. And I don't have like I don't have like space to be putting things like a meat tenderizer or a mallet. Go ahead and let that sit out on the counter for about an hour or so. About halfway through, flip it over. You're going to want to get you a skillet, cover the bottom with olive oil. You're going to put it at a medium high to high heat. Try to coat it and try to get a skillet that's as even as possible. As you can see here, I can never get a skillet that's completely even. It always rolls to the middle or rolls to the outside, but I have cheap skillets. Your chicken breast should make a sizzling noise like this. If it doesn't make a noise like this when it hits the pan, it's not going to be hot enough. You want it to actually burn the underside of the chicken breast. When I mean burn, I don't mean like the entire bottom side black. You want it seared. You want to have a little bit of browning, maybe just a little bit of blackening on the bottom. That's going to lock in your juice. You're going to do this for about 2 minutes on that medium high to high heat. Once you let that sear on one side for about 2 minutes, you're going to go ahead and flip it over. Make sure during that 2 minutes that you do not move the chicken breasts around. They should be stuck to the pan a little bit as they sear on the underside. Then once it's finished and you've done that 2 minutes, you're going to put the lid on it. And you're going to reduce your temperature down to a low to medium low temperature. for about 6 to 7 minutes. This time is all going to depend on the size of the chicken breast you're using, um, how many chicken breasts you're putting in, your actual stove, the pan that you're using. So just play with it. When I originally learned about this, I learned it from a book.
Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
And they were like 3 minutes on high heat for the first side and then about 9 minutes on the other side. And I found it gave me very dry, overcooked chicken breasts. So it all depends on multiple factors when it comes to cooking. All right, and then once that is done and you've reached that 6 to 7 minute time, you're going to take it off the heat, let it sit somewhere to cool and rest. That's going to allow the juices to go ahead and go back into the meat out of the pan. I'm going to go ahead and cut up some vegetables to give to the kids, save myself some olives. You may see me run out of the video for a moment as I'm cutting up some of the vegetables, because they wanted something to snack on too. I'm going to go ahead and wash this romaine lettuce, chop it up, put the remaining stuff back in the bag, back in a Ziploc bag so I can use that later. I think I ended up making BLTs the next day and using that for my sandwiches. I usually don't use the romaine lettuce. I usually use iceberg and spinach. And I'll go ahead and wash up some baby tomatoes, cut those up. I don't like the whole pieces, and cut up some black olives because I couldn't get sliced olives. And then I'll drizzle it with some red wine vinaigrette and some olive oil as well.
Ooh, so fancy.
And here is the moment of truth. I'm going to go ahead and cut this chicken breast up. See how it looks on the inside. You'll know you flattened it out enough if it got good and cooked thoroughly. And everything is juicy, nothing's dried out. There's a very thin line between juicy chicken and dry chicken. And it's hard to know until you've finished cooking with it. The best way to know the perfect time and temperatures to use is to keep cooking over and over again, writing down your results, and then figuring out what is your perfect zone. And if you change anything, like you change your pan or you have to get a new stove or anything, you might have to do that process all over again. Go ahead and cut these up into chunks to go ahead and put on my salad. And you're still going to have quite a bit of juice left in your pan after you pan sear your chicken breasts. That juice can come in handy, like if you wanted to dip it into the chicken into the leftover juice in the pan before you put it on your salad, you can do that. It does add quite a bit more flavor. You can also, if you're making something like an alfredo sauce or sauce to go into a pot pie, a lot of times when I pan sear these chicken breasts, I'll put that in as part of the base on my sauce. I'll go ahead and add that chicken breast and add some croutons. Then you'll see me do some shredded cheese on the top. No chicken breast left behind. I will eat that. And that's why I sanitize counters so I can drop food and still eat it. And then once we've got the cheese on, I'm going to do some ranch and go sit down and eat and enjoy my salad. You guys take care. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. But everybody have a great week. I will see you next week.